This video might mark the grim fate of my channel. Before the very high chance of me being terminated by YouTube, please download this video. I will leave a link to a MediaFire file in the description, which will come with the video and all the screenshots I used and everything like that. I do have a second channel, and I will move over there if this channel gets taken down. Make sure to subscribe to the new channel if you're still interested in watching my content. I have a feeling this channel won't last after this video, at least for long, but now that you were warned, I will begin with the video. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the YouTube user by the name of Logical Fallacy. He was the first one to make a video exposing Oxhorn because no one else would do it. I will leave a link to the original exposed video and the newer one so you can check both out. I highly recommend watching the second one first and then the first one. A lot of what I'm about to say comes from those two videos and from a little bit of my own research. So if you have watched the two Logical Fallacy Oxhorn videos, you would know that Oxhorn is a shill, a fraud, who only cares about the sweet dollar bill from Bethesda. He has also been shown to shadow ban and delete comments that don't stroke his ego. Once Fallout 76 was announced and released, he hasn't really been able to do that because everyone will know how much of a shill he is and how much he is just a fraud. And he bans people who don't agree with his opinions, and he can be very condescending in his views when it comes to his morality. And I'll expand a little bit on his morality here in a minute, but I just wanted to explain a couple things about what makes him a bad YouTuber and then talk about what makes him a bad person. So the condescending morality I was talking about was that in his Nuka World videos, which I'll talk about more later, he acts like his choices are the only correct ones and that other choices are immoral. He doesn't shut up about how evil the Raiders are, how evil the Brotherhood of Steel is, how evil the Institute is, how good the Minutemen are. But anyways, that was all I wanted to say about what makes him pretty bad YouTuber. But so the whole point of this video is me wanting to explain what makes him a bad person. First off, he has misogynistic tendencies. I don't want this to sound like I'm virtue signaling. Just keep that in mind for the rest of this video, because I do not care if someone is a misogynist or a homophobe. That is entirely up to that person and that person alone, because I support free speech unlike Oxhorn. Anyways, the gripe I have with Oxhorn about this is the creepiness, hypocrisy, and how he is pretty much a self-proclaimed family-friendly channel. Now, you may say, Sinon, it's just a game. It's not real. And you do have a point. However, the way he goes about doing these things I'm about to list can get a little disturbing. First off, he uses a nude mod. Now, this would be one thing if he was a hormonal teenager or young adult, but we are talking about a 37-year-old man in a fedora and with a neckbeard and has a wife and a child or multiple children. Here is an unedited but censored clip from Oxhorn's Nuka World evil ending and why it's evil.
True. The reasons for doing those things do not matter. It's the results of their actions that matter. And when the results of their actions mean evicting people from their own homes, enslaving people by putting collars around their necks that makes their head explode if they run away, attacking settlements and forcing them to send you tribute.
I had to censor it because had I needed to age restrict it if it were uncensored, this video wouldn't be able to spread further because of YouTube's policies with age-restricted videos. I'm sure most of you know about that already, so there's no point in me expanding on that. But you can always check for yourself since it's obvious Oxhorn isn't going to do anything about the age restricting the video or warning people about it. The link to the video at the exact time that the nude mod shows up will be in the description. If the video was taken down by the time you're watching this video and you're fact-checking this, I will re-upload the entire unedited clip. And I can tell that this wasn't really that small a mistake because multiple people have pointed it out on the video itself, but he has deleted like all the comments talking about it. You can test this yourself if you want to, because like I said, all he will do is ban your comment or even your user from being able to comment. Now, why would he do that and not pin a comment apologizing for not noticing, or even age restricting the video. If it were truly a mistake, he would try and fix it, not cover it up. It's common sense, is it not? Now, the next problem I have with this is the hypocrisy of the whole thing. In one of his now deleted blogs, the manly festo of his stated that porn was immoral and whoever views it is pathetic. Now, you can argue that he doesn't still subscribe to those beliefs, but remember when I mentioned earlier that he has deleted each comment pointing it out and only recently deleted his manly festo? If he really didn't believe the things he did before now, why would, instead of addressing to everyone, exposing him, or to his own audience that he doesn't feel the same way, he just deletes all the evidence? And again, you can just say he doesn't want to remember his past, which is completely understandable, but doesn't this all just make it worse for himself? To delete the evidence and not apologize or even announce that he doesn't feel the same way? Just keep that in consideration. You can view the entirety of the blog with the link in the description on the Wayback Machine. What I find ironic about the whole thing, though, is that a real man would admit and fix his mistakes, which Oxhorn doesn't do, despite him claiming that he's so manly. There's another thing that he did in the past that pretty much confirms that he is possibly misogynistic. He built prisons where, what a surprise, right? All the prisoners just so happen to be female. I wonder why that is. Could it be that Oxhorn has these vented up sexual frustrations and has to satisfy it by binding up women in a video game? Either Oxhorn didn't mean to, which is pretty unlikely, because I'm pretty sure that he mods in to make sure that most of the settlers that he gets for his settlements are female, so he can dress them up in skimpy outfits, or he's sending a cry for help. Either or really seems plausible. And the final reason I think he's a misogynist, like I mentioned earlier, most of his settlers are female, and it is very likely he modded it to be that way. And what makes it even weirder is that he dresses up his all-female settlements in skimpy outfits. Not only that, but in his other save files, who knows what he has in his settlements. He probably has everyone in the nude, or bound up and nude, in prison cells. Even on camera, he has the settlers dressed up in skimpy outfits for the whole world to see. Now that I'm done talking about his misogyny, I think it's time for me to talk about his homophobia. And now, as I said previously, I do not care if someone is homophobic. I support free speech. However, the main reason I want to address this at all is because I find it funny that Bethesda banned a group of teenagers for life on Fallout 76 for just a few homophobic jokes. But what's funny is that Oxhorn is an actual homophobic, and he's pretty much the face of Bethesda at this point. So, why should Oxhorn get a free pass? Alright, so, you probably heard all of this in Logical Fallacies videos if you've seen them, but the next part of this is entirely done with my own research. All links, like I mentioned before, will be provided in the description, and the zip file from Mediafire, as well as screenshots of everything that is included in this video. And if I do leave something out, please let me know and I will re-zip the file. Another thing I found interesting in the manly festo is some of his responses to the comments, calling him out. This reinforces the belief that he is, in fact, a Christian man. I have high doubts that a 30-year-old man would go against his faith that he's more than likely been following his entire life, but just dump that all in just only a few years. I am going to read a little bit of the comments he's responded to, but there's no point in all of them. I will show all the comments, but I'll read a few, just so you could get the idea. Colby, and this is a response to some comment. I will provide a screenshot somewhere about what the original comment. As I explained to Justin, this article is not about demonstrating that masturbation is unclassy. I actually have no bone to pick with masturbation when practiced within a loving, healthy relationship. The goal was to demonstrate that lonely masturbation and other forms of sexuality practiced outside of a loving relationship is unclassy, unmanly, and evolutionary failure. Also, I've always felt that pointing to animal behavior to justify human behavior was a bad argument. After all, some animals eat their mates after sex. Alternatively, pointing to animal behavior to shame human behavior is a good argument. The first says, but animals do it. Others says, not even animals do it. True, few men are single on purpose, but that is no excuse to be unclassy. In fact, using loneliness as an excuse is unmanly in and of itself. Manliness is not about excuses, it is about action and problem solving. I'm gonna stop there with this comment. I find that ironic since he doesn't actually solve his problems, now does he? In response to your point on porn, I'll counter that only when evoked by humans are animals introduced to porn. As you state, in nature, when they see other animals copulating, their instinct kicks in, and instead of looking for porn, the response of pitiful humans, they try to gain the real thing. Even more, the panda porn used by humans is used to get them to mate. To view more porn or masturbate, the millions of porn users in the world have a few things on their minds when viewing porn. Marriage and finding the real thing are often not among them. For porn used within a loving sexual relationship, I'll add that I think leaning on other people having sex to enjoy your own sex is unmanly and unclassy, though I certainly can't use the evolutionary failure argument here. A classy man dates a woman, marries a woman, and has marital relations with that woman, and she is all the stimulation he needs. Alright, so that's about it for me reading the comments, because I'm sure you get the gist, so I will be continuing now. I even found someone's response blog to his original article. They are on Oxhorn's side of the argument, but I thought it'd be worthy to include in the video anyway. But it also proves Oxhorn himself wrote the original article because he addresses him as Oxhorn as well. A link will be provided for the response blog as well to show that this isn't inspected to change the elements. The next thing I found that was interesting from my own research was in regards to the old Scotch and Smoke live streams. All of the old ones, as far as I've seen, have been deleted and or privated. Now, why is that? What's even weirder is that his very first episode of Scotch and Smoke was deleted and then re-uploaded in 2013. That makes it all the more strange. Is there more incriminating evidence that he's deleted in those videos? I have two very interesting things I was given. The two people who gave me this new information wishes to remain anonymous. The first one definitely proves Oxhorn wrote the porn blog. Apparently, someone re-uploaded a video where he basically reads his blog word for word. I won't play all of the video as it is 10 minutes long, but the entire video will be linked in the description, and it will be included in the MediaFire file.
As is clear to everyone by now, mankind evolved to have certain needs, desires, and wants. We all crave water because we need it to live. We all crave food because we need it to live. We almost all crave sex. Not because we need it to live, but because we need it as a human species to live. That is, without it, there's no procreation, and obviously this is all bred into our genetic material. And I apologize ahead of time to those who may be a little bit squeamish at the word sex. It's naughty. I understand it's a naughty word. I don't tend to use sex very often, but in this discussion we will be talking about adult topics, and so it behooves us all to handle this stuff responsibly. We will be using words such as sex and masturbation. Oh, man, that came out rough. And of course pornography. The prongs. I used this analogy in my previous video, but I'll use it again. If you see a starving man looking through the glass of, say, a food store, and he is lusting after a carrot, or a slice of bread, or a tomato, what do you feel? Do you feel pride or satisfaction at this person? Do you sit there and say, my, look at that guy lusting at that tomato. That fellow is one dude. No, you actually have empathy and pity for the guy. He is pitiful, not in some sort of negative pejorative, but pitiful in the actual sense of the word. It invokes or evokes pity in the viewer. You pity the man who is so starving that he would rather sit there and lust after food through the window, lust after the image of food instead of finding ways to satisfy his real hunger. Whether it's getting work, or going to a homeless shelter, or finding some other way of satisfying that primal, animal, instinctual need. Instead, he is lusting after the image of food in a window, and that is pitiful. Similarly, those who watch porn and engage in manual manipulation, I'm not going to get into that too much, but those who engage in such activities are in essence pitiful, because one should be pitying the man who cannot get it in real life. Now I understand and recognize that there are other reasons to watch. There are people in real life who do get sex and still watch pornography and masturbate. But that's for a different discussion. We're not talking about sex in general. We're talking about satisfying sex. And I get that into the article when we talk about marriage. Right. Anyway, so that from a Darwinistic perspective, Darwinistic perspective, from the perspective of an animal that has evolved from a protozoa, or whatever, to the creature that stands before you naked and shivering now, the man, that is a man who has failed at being an animal. Animals don't run around and look at other naked animals and get their jollies that way. They really don't. That's really something that is only in mankind. You know, you don't see nude badger periodicals in the bookstore. You don't. I mean, that's just weird. You're not going to find badgers lined up to buy the latest issue of Badger Boy, or whatever. Play Badger? I'm not sure.
If you have seen Logical Fallacy's second video, you would know that a user on the internet by the name of Mick Bobbish called Oxhorn out for mocking a fat woman in public. Now, Logical himself said he didn't have the proof of this. However, like I mentioned before, the person who sent me this wishes to remain anonymous.
This is what happens when you have too much personality. Ah! Alright. Recovery mode. Must recover. I just don't think I can take much more. That's just... It's like a evil Chung-Li. Or some sort of deformed cosplay. Oh. Why? I don't know. One more, and alright, we're done.
This was re-uploaded by the same person who re-uploaded him talking about how porn is immoral. Now, it mostly seems to be sarcasm, which is likely true, mostly because of the over-dramatic, like, how he... If you've seen the video, so I'm sure you get what I mean. But still, it's not so manly of him to go about and exploit fat women to make fun of in his videos. So much for his higher tier morality, huh? I cannot find almost any old Scotch and Smoke streams. The oldest one that wasn't re-uploaded in 2013 or any later date was episode 98, which was uploaded in 2011. What the hell is he hiding? Why would he need to delete all of his old streams? What reason is there to do so? If any of you watching can find any of the older ones, please let me know. I did find the first one, but like I said, this was re-uploaded in 2013. This is very interesting to me. If any Oxhorn fans or anyone who has followed and watched Oxhorn's videos for a long time now, perhaps you can shed some light on this. I could not think of a single reason he deleted the streams other than to hide something. I found this old re-uploaded video of Oxhorn's World of Warcraft shorts. I'm gonna play a small clip of the video, and I want you to see what is wrong with it.
Look, I can't prove that it exists because there is no proof.
I'm only trying to say that my faith in the invisible pink unicorn is reasonable, logical, and should be treated with some respect.
How could we not be contemptuous? How can I refrain from calling you a fool? First you claim that there is a creature out there that created everything we know, but happens to conveniently be invisible. And then you go on to further qualify this invisible creature with the aspect of being pink. How can you claim that this invisible unicorn is pink when you have not seen it for yourself?
The unicorn says he's pink. I don't have to see his pinkness to believe it.
And that is precisely why we call you a fool. It is foolishness to have faith in something that has not been proven to exist. Before I ever believe in the existence of this invisible pink unicorn, I will need some pretty convincing evidence.
If you couldn't figure it out, I'll tell you. It's obvious that it is heavy religious propaganda and heavily suggested that is very anti-atheism. That doesn't necessarily bother me, but I thought it'd be interesting to include it in the video nonetheless, as even further proof that Oxhorn is religious. Once again, this is to show that there is no way you can just 180 his beliefs in the span of only a few years. It's possible, but unlikely. I don't want this whole thing to become a religious debate. I really don't. I only mention it because I feel it is important to show the hypocrisy, bigotry, and lies present within him. Oxhorn, if you're watching this, just know one thing. We aren't going to back down easily. You may silence us, but you will never be able to completely silence the truth. We are prepared at any moment for the termination of our YouTuber channels. Easiest thing you can do right now is to just admit defeat. Apologize for everything you've done. Terminating the original logical fallacy, lying about the lore in your Sunset Sarsaparilla video that you only corrected after an entire year of the video being up, and for trying to cover up all the evidence instead of just addressing and admitting your mistakes. It's as simple as that. Alright, this video has been going on for quite some time. I think I got the message across pretty well, so I would like to end it here. But before I completely leave, I want to sign off with a little comedic relief. This is the ultimate definition of irony, and I found it to be an apt representation of Oxhorn's greed. Before that, I just want to say that if I find anything else, I will either edit my pinned comment or make a new video entirely. It depends on how big the news is or if it's just time for me to make a new video. Well, thank you all for watching, and I really do hope I will see you in the next video if my channel isn't terminated.
And this greed leads them to do unthinkable acts of violence. Alan murdered 23 people in his quest for Festus's treasure chest, and it was only once he discovered that there was no reward that he felt any lick of remorse. It sounds like he was raised right, though. His mother taught him what happens to violent men. His mother taught him what greed can do to your soul, and yet he let it overcome him anyway. He let it rule his life. He let it become an obsession. An obsession that not only brought him to murder, but also caused him to ignore his dying mother. We can assume she died alone, having not seen her son for a very long time. But maybe we can take comfort in the thought that his mother never knew that her son would turn out to be the very kind of murderer she tried to warn him about. At least she died blissfully ignorant of that fact. What, ladies and gentlemen, are your thoughts about The Legend of the Star Quest and the Sunset Sarsaparilla Company? Were you satisfied with the rewards of this quest? Or did you feel like pew pew and around 1,500 caps were not worth the 50-star bottle caps you spent so long trying to collect? Let me know in the comments section below. I read all of your comments and I use your comments as inspiration for my future videos. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week, spanning the entire Fallout franchise. So if you you want to make sure that you don't miss my next Fallout video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a t-shirt shop, folks. If you would like an Oxhorn or Fallout themed t-shirt, you can find a link to my shop in the description below. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.
What's wrong with this dude?